Tall, dark, and handsome. Well, that is if you made him look that way, then yes, I am correct. So Hurk. This is a guide that will provide insight on how to use and better your gameplay as a Hurk, within party or on solo. To start, the guide will be divided into 4 sections. Within each section I will be covering in detail to shed as much light as possible for new and intermediate players. Some of these sections I may cover in different perspectives to suit both new and experienced players as well. The following sections covered in this guide will include the role, skills, combat strategies, and finally tips and tricks. Section 1. The role. Some say that knowing your character in a role-playing game is rather stupid. This is not necessarily the case, nor is it entirely true. The more one can understand about their character in the game, the better one can reduce the negative effects a flaw can pull on a character. First, let me explain roles. In the Vindictus world, there are 3 roles: healer, tank, and DPS. The main role here in this game is DPS, so the other 2, healer and tank, become hybrid roles. Why, you may ask? This is because raid maps have a time limit of 60 minutes. So, to balance out, hybrid roles are implemented to ideally keep the fight short and within a time limit. Hurk. In the Vindictus world, he serves a role of tank and DPS. Being a berserker, Hurk is in the front lines of the battlefield, dishing out and taking in large amounts of damage. This fighting style gives him the ability to attack endlessly, serving true to his DPS side. However, he must be able to remain alive fighting a raid boss, so in turn he must be able to withstand huge amounts of damage. He does this by using his skills to mitigate the damage and deflect oncoming attacks, staying in control of the situation, serving for his tank role. Unfortunately, Hurk has a slow attack speed in early game due to the drag he has wielding a greatsword. He also has a narrow hitbox. Hitting enemies that are nimble and small may be rather annoying and very, very difficult. He does make up for this by hitting like a truck. Section 2. Skills. This section will be divided into 4 different categories: primary, secondary, tertiary, and active. Primary skills are the ones that are crucial to Hurk. Secondary skills are important. Tertiary are negligible, so they're rather useless, in other words. And finally, active skills. Active skills are for utility purposes and are useful in situational uses in a raid or in general battles. Primary skills, the crucial skill sets. These will be granting Hurk his ability to carry out as a tank, and secondly, his DPS role. So let's look at the first skill. Relentless. This allows Hurk to continue to attack, chaining his combos for as long as his stamina pool is not empty. These combos are inclusive of normal attacks, smash attacks, and dodges. This in turn will make Hurk very adaptable in combat situations. The Relentless skill will also grant Hurk a buff called Awakening. This stackable buff grants Hurk an increase in attack, attack speed, and defense. The buff stack can increase to a maximum of 5 stacks. These stacks will decay over time if Hurk does not maintain or gain these stacks. The way to maintain or gain these stacks is to use normal attacks or smash attacks. These do not have to hit anything if you are trying to maintain the buff. Use of active skills and blockade or charge. Impenetrable, the second skill. This is the damage mitigation skill, allowing Hurk to withstand devastating attacks from boss monsters in raids. Impenetrable will mitigate a certain percentage of damage. The effect is activated through the use of his dodge skill, which is known as charge or blockade. although Hurk does not have any iframes or invulnerable frames during his charges, this skill acts like a block. In order for Impenetrable to successfully mitigate an attack, Hurk must face the attack head on, so in other words, dodge into the attack. At max rank, Impenetrable will mitigate 65% of the damage, with the addition of 1% per 100 will that will cap out at 1500 will, giving a total mitigation of 80%. If used correctly and timed perfectly, Stone Wall will activate. This will further reduce the damage and allow Hurk a chance to deflect the attack. Charge, the dodge. This allows Hurk to lunge a considerable distance in any direction. This can either be used to bridge the gap or to create some breathing space between an enemy and himself. The lunge is useful for avoiding projectiles as well. Charge is one of the two skills that grant the Impenetrable effect, and it most likely occurs a little after the animation has started. Charge too early into an attack and you may actually take the full damage. The mitigation durations at max rank for charge is 0.63 seconds. Blockade, the shoulder charge, alternatively known as the second dodge for Hurk, but it's a shoulder charge. It doesn't cover that much of a distance. The shoulder charge is short and quick. Again, like charge, it grants the Impenetrable effect. It is pretty much the second skill to use this effect. However, this skill is short and more useful as it's quick. If the skill is used directly after a charge, the effect will last longer. By this meaning, using blockade after charge, the effect will last for 1.03 seconds, while blockade alone will also provide 0.63 seconds of Impenetrable effect, just like charge. Revenge, the skill that gives Hurk godlike abilities. Pretty much what it does, it gives Hurk the power to self-heal, and as well increase the damage on his next smash attack. This effectively makes the Impenetrable skill somewhat more awesome than just mitigating damage. Hurk must first use Impenetrable to withstand an attack. This grants him the buff. The next smash that follows the Impenetrable will heal and restore a certain amount of HP, with the addition of a percentage from the damage dealt from that smash. This will max out at 900 HP. The increase in damage for the next smash is at 60%, this being if the revenge buff is at rank A. Transcendence, the skill that gives Hurk his title of Berserker. This skill grants Hurk to continuously attack even though his stamina bar is empty. What it does, it turns his HP bar into a secondary stamina pool. The fact that his use of this bar, the HP consumption will start off small and slowly increase. This will continue until his HP is left at 1. He can still attack at 1 HP, however it's very, very risky. By increasing willpower, you can also decrease the amount of stamina demanded in HP. At max rank, Transcendence will consume at 0.5% of HP per 1 stamina. Please note, normal attacks will also consume HP when there is no stamina. Secondary skills, the important skills. These serve as secondary to the primary as they will assist in the tank role and not main for anything else. The first skill in the secondary skill sets is deflection. This allows Hurk to parry the boss, in other words, control the boss's attacks. Deflection will stop a boss's attacks in its tracks. The activation of the deflection requires exquisite timing, as the windows for chances to deflect is rather small. There are 3 ways in obtaining a deflection. Pressing the smash key just as a boss's attack is about to hit Hurk. This method consumes no SP, however is rather hard to use. Charge and blockade at the right time to trigger stone wall will also provide a prompt to deflect. This consumes 100 SP and is rather easy to use. Ultimatum, an active skill. This attack acts like a stance to ready Hurk to parry any boss's attack. This is easiest of all 3 other methods. The skill at max rank will provide 0.1 seconds for a window to parry off the smash. Onslaught, the expansion of deflection. This continues to allow Hurk to control the boss by flinching him an extra 3 times post the initial parry. It allows Hurk to also deal increased damage as it exposes the enemy's weaknesses. This skill is a good addition to the deflection, as the Onslaught also holds an auto chase feature, which means that Hurk will actively chase or hunt the boss for the next hit to continue the flinches. At max rank, these flinches will have a damage increase of 50%, and however, if there is no SP, deflection or onslaught will not activate, no matter what the cause is. Execute. This is a smash combo. This is the second smash combo in his combo list. This involves Hurk thrusting his sword forward, stabbing into the enemy. Depending on its rank of the skill, this execution can subdue up to 3 enemies and then in succession smash them into the floor in any direction. This will grant an extra percentage gain of SP. At max rank, execute will subdue 3 enemies and provide 50% extra SP with each smash on top of that. The smash itself, the combo, will increase 35% damage and also have a knockdown chance of 7%. Crescent, the 4th smash on the combo list. The sword is swung in an upward crescent, lifting mobs into the air. This attack has a narrow hitbox, so be sure to aim well. Similar to execute, the damage increase is the same at 35% and a 7% knockdown chance. Full Moon is a chain smash that comes only after Crescent has been performed. This smash is virtually the same, only having a different multiplier. This will cause damage to be dealt more. So with each smash, it hits a lot heavier, in other words. Although the percentage increase is all the same within Crescent's ranks, the multiplier formula between Crescent and Full Moon will deal considerably more damage if Revenge and Awakening buffs are added to it. Tertiary skills. These are the least important of them all, so I'll be covering these rather briefly actually. Decimate. This is the first smash in the combo set for Hurk. It's just a mob clearing move where Hurk uses his sword to bat away any number of mobs at the max of 3. Massacre. This is the 3rd smash. It's another AoE move where Hurk will swing in a circle, knocking anything around off its feet. These moves are more gimmicks, especially Vortex. This one is more so very, very useless, as it starts off by you running. As Hurk runs, he will then change his stance to drag the blade along the floor. If you continue, By pressing the smash button multiple times, he will do a total of 7 rotations. This is based on max rank. These moves will and should be put into max rank last, as they are just gimmicks and rather useless in the battlefield. Alternatively, you can try to use them, but end up getting killed, because there is a lot of drag with Massacre and Vortex. They leave you open to getting hit by mobs and bosses on top of that. Active skills. This is not part of the primary, secondary, or tertiary categories, as they are more utility skills. They are very useful for situations, and they can actually help you get out of tight spots. Okay, so the first skill here is Judgment. This 2 smash combo is attack on its own. It's inactive, so you actually have to press the buttons to use it. The skill doesn't use any SP, which is rather good. However, it does have a cooldown of 30 seconds. The skill provides you with iframes, so invulnerability frames. So during these animations, you will remain unscathed. It's very useful. Despite the fact that this skill has a 30-second cooldown, it can be reset. By that, if you happen to see a mob with green lightning icons above its head, use Blockade. It will interrupt the enemy, and it will also reset the Judgment's cooldown. Alternatively, successfully parrying a boss monster will give you the same effect. Judgment, however, is dependent on the Awakening buff. At 0 stacks, Judgment will deal about the same damage as a normal attack. At 5 stacks, however, it can rival that of a smash, similar to Execute and Crescent. So be sure to use this when you have a full stack on Awakening. The second skill is Ultimatum. This is a charging upper slash. When used, it will place Hurk into a stance that is ready to be launched at any time. Now, the move itself isn't very high damaging. However, its utility makes it a great power. Well, a great skill, actually. The upward slash provides iframes. So, during the animation of slashing upwards, you will also remain unscathed, similar to Judgment. This skill has no cooldown. Okay, so you can use it as many as times as long as there is SP provided to use it. The third skill, Execution. A heavy overhead smash that consumes any Awakening stacks and deals a lot of damage. This skill is also dependent on the Awakening buff, as if it's used at 5 stacks, will instantly knock down an enemy 100%. This excludes the Niflheim monsters, such as Succubus Queen, Zakalian, and so on and so forth. So the main thing about this one is it has a 2-minute cooldown. Try not to miss. The next skill is Berserk. This provides the ability of stamina regeneration for Hurk, and not only that, it provides an extra buff onto your damage. So you can actually stack this with Awakening. It's rather useful to the fact that each mitigation will extend the duration the effect of this Berserk will go on. And one of your eyes glow red, which is totally awesome. And finally, Terminus, known as the ultimate, costing about 1000 SP and having a 20-minute cooldown. This involves Hurk smashing the ground, knocking the enemy to his knees, well, the boss to his knees, and virtually ripping the blade after stabbing the boss, dealing him huge amounts of damage. There are 2 types of animation. The first animation for small bosses will simply mean Hurk will stab the boss and just rip it out simply. While larger bosses, Hurk will have a bit more time to shred his way through the boss and eventually rip out the sword from the boss's insides. Section 3. Combat Strategies. First off, new to intermediate players, this will serve very helpful for you guys in the battlefield, as we will be focusing on what to do and how we're going to go about doing it. Experienced players, this will be more of a recap. So by now, I'm guessing most of the newer players or intermediate players will think, oh, Hurk, unkillable. Totally, let's be reckless and just face smash everything. This isn't exactly the case. That type of fighting can be very, very lethal. Before we move on, I'm going to speak to you guys directly for a moment. We're going to be starting about timing. So experienced players, listen up. I've seen a lot of you guys play like this and it's rather embarrassing. The timing mechanic is something that everyone should pay attention to, because Vindictus actually revolves around timing. Whether you're in a raid battle or in a normal battle, timing is always going to be there. The fact that Hurk has a reckless type of gameplay doesn't exactly mean you're going to be throwing all that shit out the window, okay? It actually means you kind of got to think your way around it. So you have timing while being reckless or aggressive. There are actually two types of reckless players that I've seen about: stupid reckless and smart reckless. Now, depending on what type of reckless you plan on being will actually determine what type of DPS you're going to be in a raid or on solo play. Now, the first type of DPS is the damage per second. The second type, on the other hand, is deaths per second. Now, depending on which type you're going to be determines whether you're going to be a contribution to them, well, to the raid party, or you're going to be a floor ornament and a hindrance to them, or maybe another type of, useless thing in the game. Another thing is, if you're in solo play, these two types of DPS will actually determine whether you're going to finish it or you're just going to die before and having to do the game all over again. Alright, back on topic. Let us begin with new players who are lazy, hate learning curves, and have access to unlimited amounts of money. After you've created your character and left the inn and gone into town, there will be a small little button at the bottom right hand corner of your screen. The icon of this button will be yellow and in the shape of an N and an X, sort of combo sort of thing. And then the word depot will be written right below it. This will bring up a menu for you, providing you with a tab that you can click on, which is called bundles. There will be a section that says surprise boxes. Click on that and you have two options. Click on both of those options and start buying. Invest all your money into weapon surprise and armor surprise. Spend day in and day out just opening boxes, please. That's your end game. You don't have to do anything, you don't have to learn anything, just right click and go start and click random choices all day long. Once you're satisfied, uninstall the game, okay, quit, and never come back. On a more serious note, players who have started or are starting the new character as Hurk, let's see what we can do with smash combos for you guys. To start, let's focus on Relentless. Relentless is your smash combo chaining, long and arduous process of continuously DPSing mobs and bosses. Okay? Now, it's worth knowing what contributes to what for Relentless. By this I mean charge, blockade, the normal attacks, and the smash attacks. Let's look at blockade. Blockade and charge without any previous input will be the equivalent of 2 normal attacks in the combo list. So this meaning will be Hurk will perform execute after he charges. If so, however, a normal attack is used prior to charge or blockade, a combo save feature will activate, which will save the normal attack number you happen to be on, and then continue the combo after the dodge is finished. This will mean if you do a 3-hit normal attack, then charge or blockade, your smash will mean it will be massacre. Using the dodge skill in combination with smashes will pretty much eliminate the use of normal attacks, maximizing your damage output as much as possible. So here's what we have as a list of chaining from one smash to another. Decimate, the first smash, with the addition of charge or blockade, will result in an execute if you right click. From execute, charge and blockade will then result in crescent. From crescent, charge and blockade, the next smash will be decimate. As you can see, this will make it actually a full loop. To achieve full moon, however, you just smash after crescent. So in this case, you will be doing execute, then crescent, and then right click again for full moon, with the added use of charge between execute and crescent. Massacre, however, is a bit different. Massacre is the only smash that will loop into itself. So the moment you activate Massacre, the next smash after the charge or blockade combo will still result in Massacre. Okay, so to deal highest output damage, your ideal skill rotation will be dodge, execute, dodge, crescent, then full moon. Repeat. So by dodge I mean, as you know, charge or blockade. Full moon does have a long drag, so if you're not confident in using it or have an issue with attack speed already, avoid using it. So what we can do is instead use dodge, execute, dodge, crescent, normal attack or dodge, use execute or decimate, and repeat the process again. The reason we can choose the difference is due to Relentless's ability to pretty much continue attacks endlessly as a combo, as mentioned before and many times again. Okay, now let's look at how to deflect. As mentioned before, there are 3 types of deflections. Impenetrable deflections, which means this type of counter involves the use of the impenetrable buff, where you must charge or blockade to mitigate damage before, and then in turn it will prompt a parry. Okay, so the impenetrable deflection will cost 100 SP, which isn't a lot, but it's a lot easier to perform than the smash deflection. The second type of deflection is the ultimatum deflection. This is the easiest of all 3 types, because ultimatum acts as a stance, so you are ready for the attack, and all you have to do is press right click. The deflection window is a lot larger than the impenetrable deflection and the smash deflection. The SP cost is 250. However, this skill has no cooldown, so you can basically spam it over and over and over and over. Smash deflection is the hardest of the 3. Having a small window of 0.1 seconds, the smash parry requires near perfect timing. It is very difficult to perform. However, it is possible to proc it mid-combo, meaning that you can actually deflect mid-combo. It just cancels out the original combo. Please be aware that your attacks have a lot of drag or recovery frames post the attack. For example, full moon. he will be standing there for quite a while. This is due to the fact that he has a very powerful swing, and the greatsword is rather heavy. So when attacking, always plan ahead on what you're going to do next. Section 4. Tips and tricks for Hurk. This is where both experienced players and new players would like to pay more attention, as this will serve well for those who are in raid parties or in solo. So, let's start with Transcendence. There is an issue with Transcendence that attacking all the time will consume the HP bar. This is because the fact that in a raid party, your stamina bar will be empty near the full duration of the raid. So your HP consumption will be very, very ludicrous and can drop down to 1 HP in a matter of seconds. So what we're going to do is going to reduce this HP consumption. So first off, what we can do is to use the skill of Berserk. Berserk will help with stamina regen with each hit. So this will actually stop Hurk from using the HP bar. However, the issue with Berserk is that it has a cooldown and the buff only remains for a certain amount of time. Alternatively, enchant an accessory with the Berserker enchant scroll. This will reset the HP consumption a lot, as the stamina pool will be having 1 or 2 stamina in the pool every now and then. This resets the HP consumption. This will reduce the risk of hitting 1 HP dramatically. Also, if you can, get the Succubus Fang artifact. It will help regen health at 10% of your damage dealt to the boss. Very recommended. Alternatively, you can go for the greatest Succubus Fang, which does 13%. But yeah, that's up to you. Hurk is rather SP dependent, since his smashes can deflect and activate Onslaught. Your SP will drain very, very quickly. If you want to avoid this, just left click and try to avoid using flinches. This will allow you to use other skills like Terminus, Execution, or Berserk. However, it's up to you. If you want to continuously deflect and use your SP, it isn't really game effective. It's just smart if someone wants to use the XP skills. Okay, so for more experienced players, the use of the artifact of the mysterious cat statue can help restore some of the SP used. So it just keeps the SP bar full. Well, whatever it has. Dealing with AoEs from bosses. Please be aware that AoEs do not hit in front or behind the character. They come from above. Well, some of them do. Now the AoEs are a bit difficult to impenetrable because they hit from above, and sometimes spamming the charge and blockade consistently will actually get you hit and possibly kill you. This is due to the fact that the impenetrable frames are only on the front side of Hurk's hitbox. So the best way to do this is to use Judgment or Ultimatum to iframe your way through the AoE. Or use Common Sense and get the hell out of dodge. If you do insist on using impenetrable to block or mitigate an AoE, you need perfect timing to have the frames up as soon as it hits from above, because once it hits you, you're either going to die or get lucky and proc the impenetrable buff. So be careful. Alternatively, again, if you have an AoE coming, use a knockdown ability. But since there's a 20-minute cooldown now, unlike before it used to be 3 to 2 minutes, best save it up for later. The terminus glitch. Most of you guys should know this. Well, most of the experienced players should know this. By pressing and holding the grab or the dodge while the animation of stabbing is in effect, will turn a small boss into a large boss, making Hurk shred through and then ripping out in the end. However, by the end of the animation, if you do release the grab or the dodge button just after the ripping animation has finished, the animation will reset, putting the sword back into the boss and then ripping it out. It serves as a double terminus, in other words. However, be careful to not release the button before the animation, the ripping animation finishes. If you do so, the animation will be cancelled and you have wasted 1000 SP for nothing, and you got a 20-minute cooldown. If you do that, you're best uninstalling the game and not playing. Finally, let's look at Hurk's animation cancelling. This is somewhat noting, as it is rather important. In early game, Hurk is slow, and it's best to increase the attack speed as much as possible. Attack speed is very vital in this game since it reduces those drag frames from full moon. The idea here is to reduce drag frames to as low as possible, keeping the attacks going and keeping yourself from being open to attacks. Ways to overcome this drag is to place enchant scrolls such as fast enchants or leopards if you're attack speed happy. If you don't have any of these, don't fret. You can always enhance your weapon to plus 15. However, not many people are willing to do that. So, as mentioned earlier, animation cancelling is a good idea. What animation cancelling does is it cuts the animations for the drags short. So, for starters, let's look at the ultimatum. Ultimatum can act as a super cancel to any move, any smash move. So, for example, if you are in mid full moon swing and the boss is about to attack you, use the ultimatum skill. It will actually cancel the full moon animation and put you into a parry position, so you're ready to parry the attack off. Alternatively, if you do a normal attack, Judgment can provide iframes to leave you unscathed from a fight. Another good way to deal with bosses is to use a normal attack, but midway through the attack animation, press the blockade. So use blockade after you use the normal attack. This will actually do a short block and give you the impenetrable buff to mitigate the damage. This is very good for dealing with bosses who do a lot of combo hits. Although, despite the fact, timing is a very crucial part to Hurk's gameplay. So, make sure you get your timing in the early games first. Alright, boys and girls, let's have a recap. So, what have we learned through this guide? Animation cancelling, use of Judgment and Ultimatum in oh shit moments, chaining combos to maximize DPS, use of double terminus to hold down the bosses for longer, your skills, which are vital to being a good Hurk, and which are pretty much useless, the role of being a tank DPS hybrid, of course being tall, dark and handsome, being godlike, and the difference between stupid and smart reckless, the use of transcendence and revenge, damage mitigation, boss controlling through parries, reducing SP consumption, and how fucking important timing is. Thanks for watching, guys. Gear up and go be the best Hurk you can be.